So welcome. Lovely to see you. Lovely to have both of you back. We are continuing our theme of working with loving kindness this month, which again still remains very fitting given our current climate of racism and oppression and bias, and we certainly want to stand in support of anti-racism campaigns and the Black Lives Matter movement, and so we feel that loving kindness is a wonderful practice right now to keep ourselves centered and focused, and to also send support to our various communities. So we've been exploring loving kindness from a variety of perspectives. We looked at loving kindness for our body, for our emotions, for our thoughts that are often cultural thoughts and political thoughts and habitual thoughts. Today we will focus on sending loving kindness into the world, into our community, and we will do that through open-hearted poses, a very open-hearted practice. So that we'll be doing some backbending and just in general, keeping our heart very open no matter what it is that we're doing, either in terms of breathing or movement or meditation. So for the opening centering, I invite you to take that on your back today. And one possibility is, if you have a blanket, is to take it and make a blanket roll. So rolling it the long direction so it's long enough to bring support under your spine. And what you'll do is you'll take it onto your mat in such a way that you can sit on the end of it. And I hope you can see me okay. So your sits bones are just sort of at the edge of that blanket, and then you roll yourself onto the blanket, and you might notice that this then allows you to lie down with a very open heart. If you need a little bit of a lift under the head here, you can just take the leftover blanket at the top and make a little curl under your head here to lift the head any amount that feels comfortable for you. But you don't even have to do that if there is no need for that. And so I will come back to seated, but I hope that you can find a comfortable way of being on your back, perhaps with the blanket, supporting the spine and an open heart. And then in this supine position, in this position on your back, invite your body to settle into the earth, into the blanket. Invite your body to become heavy and to root itself into its supports. You might even imagine that you are growing roots into the earth, and that through those roots you connect yourself to your greater community. In the same way that roots connect themselves to the forests that they're growing in through their root system. Gently invite your body to find greater and greater ease here, and to trust in the support it is receiving in this moment. And as you hold your body lovingly in your awareness in this way, gently bring your attention to the breath. And invite the breath as well to become easeful, to become soft, to settle. Feeling the breath perhaps gentle, drawing in of what is around you in terms of energy and life support. And as a letting go of what's inside you that no longer serves you. And so the breath is this beautiful exchange between you and the outside world, between your inside and your outside. Where the outside is giving you the oxygen that you need, and you return to the outside the carbon dioxide that is needed by the plants and other life forms around you. So that the breath too connects you very deeply to your community, to the world around you. And then lovingly keep your body and your breath in your awareness and gently draw your attention to your mind. And become aware of the movement in the mind, maybe in the form of thoughts or memories or preoccupations, maybe planning for the future, maybe pondering preferences. And just notice what is present in the mind. And as you attend to the movements of the mind, you might notice that even the movements in the mind are not just yours. They too connect you to your community. We think the thoughts of our families, we think the thoughts of our culture. We think the thoughts of habit that have been conditioned through relationships, through experiences with others. And so even attention to the mind connects us to our community. And how we voice our mind then also will reverberate back into our community. And lovingly hold your body, your breath, and your mind in your awareness as you attend to your more intuitive self, that part of you that can sense what is happening in your community and can choose a response perhaps of compassion, of equanimity, of loving kindness. And perhaps in this moment, you can join me in a commitment to cultivate loving kindness, to cultivate that part of us that first considers the well-being, the safety, the health, the happiness of our greater community. And from that place, I invite you to now draw your attention fully to your inhalations and exhalations, simply observing your natural breath for a few moments before we start the more active part of our practice. Noticing how the breath moves in and out naturally, without you trying to control it or manipulate it. Notice if that breath has a sound associated with it. Maybe you can hear your own breath as it travels in and out. Perhaps that sound can become the anchor for your commitment to cultivate loving kindness. So that every time you breathe in and you hear your own breath or you sense your own breath, you can draw loving kindness into your own heart. And every time you breathe out and you hear your own breath or you sense your own breath flowing out of you, you can recommit yourself to spreading loving kindness in your world. Take 2 more full rounds of breath, feeling your open heart as you breathe in, and sharing your open heart as you breathe out. And when you've completed your 2 or maybe 3 breath cycles, gently transition yourself to a seat. And once you have found your seat, I invite you to rest your palms on your thighs or to bring them together at your heart, to bow your head to heart center, and to invite an intention that can guide your work on the mat today, and that can guide you off the mat and into your life in a loving and kind way. Seal that intention into your open heart with an in-breath. And then send that intention into your world with an out-breath. And then gently release your hands, open your eyes if they were closed, and lift your focus, and let's come to standing. So we'll start with some gentle movement, and all of our movements today will be guided from the heart. And so there are a couple of little tricks that I like to use to keep my heart open. And hopefully all of you could feel that opening as we were resting on your rolled up blanket under the spine, this opening across the chest that allows the collarbones to spread and the heart to shine forward. And so we'll start with thinking about how can we get the heart open. And there's a little spot at the top of your breastbone that's a little flat spot just below your throat. If you slide your finger up your breastbone, you might land on that little flat spot. That's called your manubrium. And when you take your fingers and very gently lift that manubrium up and back, you can feel an opening in the chest. You may or may not be able to see that as I'm demonstrating this on the tape, but really it's more important for you to maybe even close your eyes and feel that opening. And so this very gentle little nudge on your manubrium, I call this the manubrium maneuver, is a really nice way of reminding yourself to open the heart. And you can use this anytime, anywhere, even at your desk or at your car seat or while you're eating dinner or waiting in the line at the post office. It doesn't really matter. You can always bring your hand to your heart and your fingertips to your manubrium to open the heart up. And so start from this place of an open heart, and then inhale and let the arms travel up. And exhale, letting the arms travel down. Doing this with your own breath cycle, so don't try to mimic the speed that you might see on your computer screen, but instead move at your own pace of breath. Breathing in, still lovingly toward your own breath and your own body and your own mind. And perhaps breathing out that same loving kindness into your community. And just noticing whether your heart stays open here or whether the shoulders want to collapse forward. And then just imagine that little maneuver as you reopen yourself to your world here. And we'll do this one more time, lifting the arms up and lowering them down at your own speed, and then we'll all meet with arms by our side. Take a breath here, maybe remind yourself to open your heart. And then this time, as you inhale the arms up, bring them all the way across. Clasp the left wrist with the right hand. And then keeping the heart open and the shoulder blades settled on your back, take a gentle side bend. And so the trick in this side bend is to really keep that heart open. The head is framed by your upper arms. And to move with the breath, inhaling to upright and exhaling side to side, switching the clasp of the wrist as you switch sides. And just notice what happens as you side bend here. If you notice yourself collapsing forward like this, reopen the heart. You could even take a hand and reopen the heart with a prompt to yourself. And flow with your own breath side to side, keeping the heart open, keeping awareness of the breath. Drawing in loving kindness as you inhale, and sending out loving kindness as you exhale. One more time on each side. Making sure that you end with a side bend to the left so that you've done both sides the same number of times. Let the arms rise, and then with an exhalation, let the arms lower down. So the maneuver was the first little nudge for an open heart. The second one I call the suspender move. And for this one, I take my thumbs, I hook them into my armpits, and I roll my shoulders up and back. And so this is another way of opening the heart. This one's a little more obvious, a little harder to do in public, but it works great in other places. And so for now, just keep your fingers in your thumbs in your armpits if that feels comfortable for you, or just imagine that you're doing that. And then as you inhale, make that movement a little bit more pronounced so that you're coming into a bit of a back bend here without letting the head drop back. The eyes stay on the horizon so that you're bringing the opening into the front of the chest and you're curling in the high back in the thoracic spine. You're not bringing this curling back into the lumbar. And then as you exhale, just curl yourself in the opposite direction. You can keep the fingers in the fingertips, in the armpits for now, and then flow with your breath. Inhaling into this very gentle back bend, and then exhaling into a very gentle forward fold. And so in essence, we're doing sort of a standing cow and cat. We're just giving us this little bit of an extra prompt to keep the heart very open, really in both directions. If you would like to just keep with this movement, you can. If you want to add a little bit, then bring the hands into the suspender move on the back bend, and then slide the hands behind you, clasp your hands, and move forward into a full yoga mudra on the forward fold. Maybe the hands rest on the sacrum, maybe they come overhead, and you could even take a few breaths here. And notice if you can keep the heart open, even in the forward fold. And then at some point, if you would like, you can bring the hands down, lift yourself back up, bring the hands into the suspender move, make your back bend, and fold. And you could do this with the breath. Or you can take several breaths in one position And then several breaths in the other position, whatever feels better for your body. But very gently and open-heartedly bringing movement into the spine here. And we'll take one more turn with the breath, or you can come out of where you are and with your next movement, find yourself in an upright standing position. Great. And then from here, we will open the heart first, then we'll bring the arms out into goalpost or cactus. And then just notice if you can have an open heart here, and just imagine the maneuver, imagine rolling the shoulders up and back with the suspender move. And bend the knees slightly, almost like a half chair. And then from here, we're just going to very gently take a little twist with the breath, exhaling, sort of moving that elbow toward the opposite knee, but not touching, and moving with your own breath. Keeping the heart very open here. So the temptation is to collapse the chest forward. The challenge is to keep the heart open, even in this slightly more complex mini kriya. I'll do this a couple more times, making sure that you do both sides the same number of times. And then we will all meet again at the center and release the arms down. From here, we'll move into a little bit of work in lunges, doing the same thing again and again, opening the heart. So it would be really helpful if you had a couple of bricks or some books or a pot or something that you can bring your hands to. And bring those to the top of your mat. And then step the right foot next to the right brick, step the left foot back on the mat, and come into a high lunge to begin with. And then in this high lunge, just observe what your heart is doing. Is your heart open? You can bring most of the weight into your legs and maybe one of your hands, and just give yourself a little manubrium adjustment here so that the heart opens up. I don't know if you can see how much lift that gave to my chest when I just brought some attention to opening the heart. And then from here, from this very open-hearted place, if you would like, you can drop the back knee to the ground, or you can keep it lifted depending on how much work you want to do this morning. It's still kind of early, so maybe the knee down feels better. And then lift the upper body up, regardless of whether you're here or on the knee, and bring your arms into your thumbs into your armpits, and give yourself a suspender support here for an open heart. Hold that for a moment, and then release the hands down, keeping the heart open, and lift the arms up and overhead. Taking that same movement that we did standing now in this lunge. Again, possibly making that back bend a little deeper without throwing the head back. The head stays focused on the horizon. The gaze stays focused on the horizon. Take a couple of breaths here and feel what that's like. Maybe notice how you can make this more loving for your own body. And then with your next out breath, release the arms forward to the bricks. And switch sides by stepping the right foot back and the left foot forward, or the right knee back and left foot forward. And you can again either be on your knee, or you can be lifted, up to you. Rise up suspender move. Lift the heart, open the heart. And then keep that heart open, but release the fingers so that you can lift the arms up and overhead. Can you perhaps breathe in loving kindness for your own challenge here? And can you, despite the challenge, continue to breathe out loving kindness into your world? If your knee is on the ground and you want to play with lifting, you can. With your next exhalation, release the hands forward and switch sides yet again, either through plank pose or through tabletop. Right foot comes forward. The knee can descend or the knee can be lifted. As you rise up, this time bring your hands to your manubrium, lift the chest, and bring the hands to your hips. Elbows moving toward each other, so not splaying out to the side, but really like you have a beach ball between your elbows and you're trying to squeeze it here as the shoulder blades nestle toward each other and down the back. And then from here, if you would like, you can invite, again, a little bit of a back bend into the upper back. Not your neck, not your lumbar, but the vertebrae that hold the rib cage. And that's a challenge. Gaze stays on the horizon. Lovingly breathe in and explore how you can make this pose more loving for you. Maybe you're drawing the belly in, maybe the pelvic floor lifts to give you stability and strength from the inside out. With your next inhalation, lift up, and with the exhalation, find your bricks with your hands and switch sides. Yet again. Doing this lovingly and mindfully. Maybe dropping the knee, maybe keeping it lifted. Rise up. Touch your manubrium to open the heart. And then bring the hands to the hips. And lovingly open the heart. Grounding through the places where you touch the earth. Rising up through the spine, finding stability in your core. Gaze is on the horizon as the thoracic spine begins to develop some flexibility here. It's very limited. The rib cage inhibits a lot of movement in those particular vertebrae. And yet here we are, we can still keep the heart open. With your next inhalation, rise up. With the exhalation, come to your bricks and switch sides yet again. This time, let's all drop the knee to the ground, even if you've been working with the knee lifted. You might even bring the top of your back foot on the ground for extra stability and ground yourself to standing in this lunge. And find the brick that's by your right hand. Maybe it needs to move a little bit backwards to really be under your hand here. Have an open heart. And then bring the left arm up and over into a little side bend with an open heart. So almost a combination of a back bend and a side bend. And just feel how the breath moves here. With your next inhalation, rise to center, bring the arms down and switch sides. This time you can come through kneeling. I'll switch this way. Press the left hand now into the left brick and let the right arm travel up, open heart, side bending back bend or back bending side bend, which means the shoulders stay nestled on the back body and draw down. Your core is stable, you're grounding through the places where you make contact with the earth. And you can feel lift, extension through your fingertips and your spine. Lovingly breathe in and lovingly breathe out. And release your side bend. And one more variation here. Step the right foot forward again. This time we'll start by actually bringing that forward knee past the ankle, which we don't often do, but there's really nothing terribly dangerous about it, so that you feel a really big stretch in the opposite groin. So the left groin is really being stretched here as you're sliding yourself forward. And you can see I'm keeping my heart open here, so imagine that you're giving yourself support and bringing the shoulders back, making the core strong, and opening a whole front body. Then from here, you can come back just a little bit, or you can stay forward. It's up to you, whichever feels better for you. We will lift the back foot and catch it with the left hand. If the arm is not long enough, you can take a strap and you can catch that foot with a strap. That might take a moment for you to bring that strap to the foot. And once you have the foot, whether with a strap or your hand, if you had moved back, see what happens if you move forward again. And notice how you can keep the heart open here. You can even come into a slight twist, bringing the chest toward the left and letting the right hip come forward a bit. Lovingly breathe into the stretch. And then inhale to rise, release the foot, and switch sides. Left foot forward, right foot is on the ground, grounding into the earth, and we start by coming forward, left knee past the left ankle to open the right groin here. Keeping the heart open and keeping the gaze to the horizon. Notice if your pelvic floor is drawing up and in, that gives you extra support if you would like it. Notice if drawing the belly button toward the spine adds to the openness of the pose. And be present with your experience here, opening your heart, opening your front body. With your next inhalation, gently draw back if you would like, or you can keep that left leg forward. It's really up to you. It might be easier to come back to catch that back foot and then slide back into the opening. You might need a strap on this side, even if you didn't need it on the other side. And so just be open to that. And notice the extra stretch you're getting along the front side of the back leg from catching the foot, and then allow yourself to come to a bit of an open-hearted twist here. And so one thing that this practice hopefully shows you is that we can keep an open heart in most positions. Whether we're bringing a little bit of a twist into the body or a side bend or a forward fold, the heart can stay open. So the open-heartedness is not just a function of backbending, even though that's where it's most obvious. But we can stay open-hearted during all kinds of challenges. And so that's, of course, the symbolism here. With your next inhalation, slide yourself back very gently, release that back foot. And then come onto your belly. And you might notice that your front body feels really nicely stretched as you're lying on your belly here, maybe more so than sometimes when you go right to the belly without first opening the groin and the chest. And so you might notice that you're pretty comfortable right now in some version of Sphinx pose or a little bit of a lower cobra pose, and just notice that for a moment. So feeling into your body from the inside out and noticing, where does the body rest comfortably in this moment? Does a Sphinx pose feel good? Maybe even more extension, and there's like no particular shape that I'm promoting right now. I'm just asking you to play a little bit here with grounding through the legs, grounding through the pubic bone, and then feeling that openness in the front body as you're on your belly here. And then from here, release yourself down if you were lifted somewhat. And experiment with what happens if you bring the hands to your side like you would in a small cobra pose, but without actually placing them on the ground. And then using your breath to move up into a bigger back bend with the inhalation, and out of the back bend, maybe even resting the hands and the face as you exhale, and then rising back up as you inhale any amount. Exhaling, if you're releasing all the way to your face, maybe turning the other cheek. Rising as you inhale. You could even squeeze your glutes here to give yourself extra lift if you would like. And just move a couple more times in this way. Using the breath to initiate the lift and then supporting the breath with engaging the core, engaging your glutes, pressing the feet and the pubic bone into the earth, lifting, feeling your open-heartedness, and releasing and fully relaxing in that moment of exhaling and resting. Finding complete rejuvenation in that small transition. The next time you are on the floor, stay there. And then bring your arms out to your side, pressing the backs of the hands into the floor. You can stay rested either on one cheek, or you could have a blanket in front of you or a brick under the forehead like this, whatever feels better for you in this moment. And then press the tops of the hands into the floor. Press the chest into the floor, and this time the lift comes in the legs. You can still let the inhalation lift you up here. And just notice what it feels like as you lower with the exhalation. And do this a few times, just like you did the little cobra movement. Think like a little half locust movement here. Inhaling the feet up and exhaling the feet down a few times. Noticing the challenge and breathing into it, breathing loving kindness into the lifting. And into the lowering. And one last time, inhaling the legs up. And exhaling the legs down. And now, if your hip was turned to the side, go ahead and bring it forward. The arms can still stay by your side. From here, I don't know if you need to, I just had to adjust myself a little bit. I don't know if you noticed. I had to bring my shoulders away from my hips a little bit more to create more space in my torso and to come back into my suspender move. So if you want to take a moment to do that same adjustment, you can. If you don't feel the need for it, then you absolutely don't have to. And now we will lift everything with the inhalation, the arms, the legs, the chest, any amount. And lower with the exhale. Do that a couple of times. Notice if you can find complete ease as you exhale and rest. And if you can have a beautiful open heart here as you inhale and rise. One more time. And release. This time, bring both arms forward. And then you can rest your head, if you would like, your forehead on your forearm of your right arm, like this. Or you can stay lifted higher if you feel like your front body is open enough. Either is wonderful. And then bend the left foot or the left knee and bring the left foot close to the outside of your left buttocks. Reach back with the left hand, and just as we did in the lunge, catch that left foot. You may need a strap to do that. So you can always find the support, and this could be a tie or a little towel. It doesn't have to be a yoga strap. As you draw on that left foot, resist the toes against the hand. So the foot is actually pressing away at the same time that the right hand is drawing down. So there is active stretching in the sense that you're resisting the stretch, which gives the quads a nice strengthening and stretching at the same time. Breathe into the stretch for a moment. And then before you release, think about doing it very gently. You don't want to just pop hand and foot loose from each other here. So decrease the resistance between the two first, and then very gently bring the left forearm forward and the left lower leg to the ground. From here, take any wiggles or little movements or adjustments that you need, and then when you feel ready, you can come to the other side. So switching now to the left forearm. Head maybe is resting on that forearm, or maybe you're pressing yourself up. It is absolutely your call. Our bodies are different every moment, and so what works right now may not work later, or vice versa. And then bend that right knee and reach back with the right hand to catch the right foot. Maybe using a strap. Drawing the right foot toward the outside of the right buttock. And then resisting the leg back against the pull of the arm, creating that resistance. And notice how this might change the stretch. And as you're in this position, notice if your heart is staying open. And if it isn't, what can you do to get back to that? Where can you release some resistance so that the heart can reopen? Is there a way to bring softness into this pose? And then before you move, very gently plan how to release hand from foot, and then release the right forearm down, release the right leg down. Take the hands under the shoulders and draw yourself back into a child's pose for a moment. Make this a wide lead child's pose, allowing the chest to stay open as the sternum moves toward the floor before the nose does. This is a challenge. Often we sort of want to get our head to the ground here, but you might even keep your head lifted as the torso nestles between the legs and stays in a pretty nice open-hearted shape here, open back bend of sorts. And then you can bring the head to a brick or a blanket or the earth, depending on where you feel the greatest openness in the front body here, in this sort of curled up posture. As you're in this child's pose, can you connect to your open heart? Even though the heart is facing the earth, can you feel that connection to a greater community? And can you shine out your loving kindness? And then gently walk both hands to the right so that you're coming into a bit of a side stretch in your child's pose. Hopefully feeling by now the heat and the flexibility that has come into your spine, especially the thoracic spine. Maybe feeling nice and juicy. Or maybe not, right? We never know. Our bodies are somewhat unpredictable. So just noticing what's there. And then walk yourself back to center. Maybe take a breath there to rest, to reorient, to resense into your breath, into your body. And then when you feel ready, walk your hands to the left to see what's present there. Do you feel openness in your heart? How is your spine responding to this side? Sense your body from the inside out. And then with your next inhalation, gently walk your way back to center. Take a breath. And then press yourself up to a seat. Swing your hips to one side. Bring the feet in front of you. And then make your way onto your back. You can take a little challenge here, bringing the arms forward and rolling down slowly, one vertebra at a time. Or you can bring the hands behind you and slowly lower yourself down using the elbows. It's yogi's choice. Sense into your body and notice what would be most loving for you right now in terms of transitioning onto the floor. Settle your back onto the floor and maybe for a moment just stretch out long, arms overhead, feet away from the hands, hands away from the feet. And just notice if you feel a change in your body. Notice how the front body feels, the back body. And then I invite you to bring your feet mat width apart with knees bent. And we'll just windshield wiper away any challenge or residue that may have gotten stuck in the body somewhere. So you can release both legs to the left as you exhale. And then just notice what your body wants. Does it want to stay here or does it want to move side to side? And invite it to do exactly that, either staying or moving, depending on what feedback you're getting from your body and your breath here. And if you have stayed on one side, this might be a nice time to switch sides so that the other side gets a stretch as well. And even here in this windshield wiper movement or resting, notice if your heart can remain open. And then when you're ready with your breath cycle to bring the legs back to center, let's all meet there. And then I invite you to take any last little movements or wiggles that feel good to you right now. Maybe bringing the knees into the chest, walking the hips away from the shoulders, or maybe a happy baby, or maybe some supine twisting with the legs revolving around the torso. Just explore what might feel loving for your body and for your breath in this moment. And as you engage in these last little movements, begin to prepare yourself for your Shavasana position. So begin to plan how you will get from these movements or flows that you're taking to a resting position, and then make your way there. Maybe supporting the head with a blanket, maybe slipping a rolled up blanket or a bolster under the knees. Paying attention to what your body prefers, paying attention to what will facilitate an easeful breath and a gentle mind. And once you have wiggled yourself into your final resting position, I invite you to invite your body to become heavy, surrendering its weight to the earth. I invite you to invite your breath to breathe itself, surrendering itself to the flow of energy around you. And I invite you to invite your mind to be easeful as it surrenders itself to your own wise self, your own wise intuition. And then fully let go. Let go of body, of breath, of mind. Just simply settle into this moment and into this space for a few minutes of silence. Gently reawaken your senses to the outer world and invite your body to wiggle itself awake. Take a conscious breath in and out. And in your own due time, first plan and then take the journey to your right side and ultimately to a seat. And once you have found a seat, I invite you to place your palms on your thighs or to your heart and bow your head to your heart. Perhaps tune in one more time to your capacity to open your heart to the world, to open your heart to challenge, to suffering, and to transform it into loving kindness. And I'll close class today by saying, may you have access to places of safety, regardless of circumstances. May you have access to wellness, regardless of health or illness. May you have access to moments of happiness every day. May you find ease and peace whenever possible. Thank you so much for practicing with me. It's an honor and a pleasure to share yoga with you. And take good care.